So how does a team like an Atlanta Dream or any other team in any league raise their valuation?
Yeah, I mean, I said in the beginning of this, we've been doing this for almost 30 years. We started valuing sports teams in 1994 at a place called Financial World. Back then, people were like, what? You value a sports team? I don't even know what that means. We're like, if a team was to be bought or sold, and they're like, I don't get it. I don't get it. But that was right after the Cowboys had been sold. But obviously it's a big business now. And a lot of people pay attention to it. And so we try to bring as much of a science to this as we can, but there is an art to what somebody will pay for something, whether it's Steve Ballmer paying $2 billion for the Clippers at a time when people thought it was the most outrageous thing ever. Matt Ishbia paid $4 billion for the Suns, which was quite a bit more than what the second and third bidders were willing to pay for the franchise. Historically, these teams never sell for less than they were purchased for, though. So they appreciate in assets. And so what has happened, the two major ways that teams, or three major ways that teams make money, basically from TV, from their arena, and from sponsorships. And so whether it's their arena or stadium, you have the regular ticket, you have concessions, parking, regular tickets, and then premium sections. And so much has happened in that space over the last 5 years. And the demand right now is so off the charts for premium experiences, premium seating, premium spots, whatever you can deliver that is premium and not just the regular old seating. You talk to anybody in any of the major sports leagues right now, and they will tell you, I wish my stadium had more premium areas, more premium seating. And we're seeing a lot of they're retrofitting to the best they can, or as they think about new building, retrofitting to have more premium areas, because the amount of revenue that you can generate in those areas in a smaller space is just, it's off the charts. I'm trying to think, at the Staples Center, they just put in suites.
I saw the
for $5 million is the cost of the suite.
They have lobster. They have lobster though.
They have lobster. And you get to see the Kings. You used to be able to see the Clippers, but not anymore. You get to see the Lakers, and you get to see the Grammys. So you get to see some cool other things and concerts. And $5 million is a lot of money, though, for a luxury suite. And so that's how, the number of tickets you'd have to sell to get to $5 million is off the charts. So that's a big area. And the reality is the places that a lot of WNBA teams are playing in, there just isn't any premium revenue. With Atlanta playing in a 3,500 seat arena, they're capped in terms of what you can do in a building of that size. So that's why they were sitting at the bottom, where you're buying the dream. You're really just getting a slot value in the WNBA. If you came in and bought them now, you'd have to figure out a better arena situation. You'd have to build a practice facility. You'd be in for a lot more than the $55 million cost we had, because the WNBA's ambitions are not for teams to be playing in 3,500 seat arenas. They're looking for other venues and not that kind of situation. So that's how they're thinking about moving forward. Dallas is moving their venue. They're playing in a building that generate no premium revenue. But one of the draws to moving to the convention center, where they're going to start playing in 2 years, they got $19 million in incentives, which was from the city, which was one plus. But also they're going to have a lot more revenue generating opportunity, particularly on the premium side, which doesn't exist in their current building.
Yeah, and trust me, it feels like that, which can be a plus for somebody who is a watcher of the game. I feel like there's virtually no bad seat in the house.
Yeah.
But from somebody who's trying to generate revenue, I could totally see how that's a bad thing.
It's hard to compete if everybody else is generating 2, 3, 4 times as much revenue as you. You know, to Larry's point, I mean, you're going to lose a lot of money playing in a building of that size, because the cap, and this, we see this with the NFL. You know, teams keep generating more. NFL is a little different because everybody makes money, or any of the leagues that have a cap, NBA, NHL, NFL, as the big market teams generate more revenue, the cap just keeps moving up as with overall league revenue. And so you're sitting there and you're in a small market in an older building, and you got to spend the same amount of money on your players, particularly in the NFL, where you have to spend the money. Basically, you have to spend up to the cap over a long-term period. And so it's harder for those smaller markets, and you know, Atlanta's going to have, it's going to be a struggle to keep up.
Last question I have, and it's because, you know, they have such an interesting situation in the NFL, and I think a lot of people believe that, you know, if they were able to do these things with their favorite team, they would potentially be happier. The Packers have a very strange ownership relationship, different than anybody else's. Therefore, they're able to make decisions and, you know, have say so, or whatever the case may be, in the day-to-day decisions. But would publicly trading, because I think that's how they're kind of ran, but would publicly trading some of these teams help in basically raising money to, you know, get new venues or up sponsorships or et cetera, you know, just different ways to make money? Would it help if teams went public?
The Packers are run a little differently. They are not publicly traded. They have shareholders, but you have zero rights as a shareholder. You have no influence over the team, and the price doesn't move up or down. You are just giving your favorite team some of your money so that you can say, I'm a shareholder of the Green Bay Packers. We do have publicly traded teams. The best example being in Atlanta also with the Braves, which were spun out from Liberty Media and are now a standalone publicly traded stock. And the public market is a way to raise money, that ownership, you're giving up a piece of your ownership, but you can also use those proceeds to build a new stadium, or to invest in your stadium, or to buy players, or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of different avenues you can go. You can try to borrow money from the banks. The newest thing is, now that leagues are allowing private equity investors, they are snapping up pieces of sports teams all over the place. The biggest, Arctos, being the prime example. They've invested in now more than 20 sports teams and have built a pretty big portfolio. And teams are using those funds to however they see fit. You know, in MLS in particular, you've seen a lot of teams sell off limited partnership stakes because they've been building a lot of new stadiums. And also to cover losses. Most MLS teams lose money every single year. Losing money, I should point out, losing money is not just a WNBA thing. Yeah, sports teams traditionally have always lost money as a whole. The NFL changed that narrative because of their TV contracts, and everybody makes money in the NFL by a lot. And the NBA has gotten better as the national revenues have gone up. NBA teams will become more profitable. MLB teams will become more profitable. But until recently, you know, most NHL teams are losing money. I mean, go to European soccer; they all lose money. It doesn't matter if you're Manchester United or a third-tier club. So, I mean, again, the giant soccer clubs are losing money for different reasons than WNBA teams. But again, the teams have traditionally lost money, and owners have made money when they've sold the team over, you know, a 10-year period or 20-year period, however long they've held the team. And that's going to be the case with these WNBA franchises, because the Atlanta ownership group paid some million figure, never fully disclosed, but, call it 5 million plus or minus, $5 to $7 million, say, for the franchise. That was 2021, I think. So
Yeah,
here we are 3 years later, $55 million. So they've lost some money along the way in terms of an operating basis, but the value of that asset is up a lot. And then we'll see the next round of WNBA expansion fees are going to be a lot higher than the current one, which just sold for $50 million. The next round, I imagine, would be significantly above that. So, but it's a polarizing league. Again, it's people who don't believe in the growth story, and there are others who are passionate that there is a long runway ahead.
Yeah, I think it's hard to not look at some of the numbers from like Sunday's game, some of the gates that have been coming out and all that stuff like that from New York and Las Vegas and stuff like that. It's hard to look at that from my perspective and not see growth. And in a growing league with growing demands, things where they can improve, et cetera, I mean, profitability is probably a long shot. But like you said, a lot of people aren't necessarily chasing, or well, it seems like a lot of people aren't chasing profitability. They're waiting for the sell. They're not thinking they're going to be profitable while they maintain the team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you can operate these things on a break-even standpoint, or lose $1 million a year, or make $1 million a year. And even the most successful sports franchises are not making like a huge profits. It's not how the businesses are built. I mean, It's part of the reason why they're not publicly traded, because if they're publicly traded, people will look at them and be like, but there's no profits. Traditionally, a publicly traded company, you want to see profits. And that's why bankers value sports teams. They don't value them on multiples of profits like every other publicly traded company would be valued at. They value them on multiples of revenue, because everybody has revenue, but not everybody has profit. So it's the nature of this business. And if you think about, where the NBA was in year 28, and I tweeted this out the other day. I mean, they always get tape delay gets talked about in NBA finals being on tape delay in 1980, 81. And so that was a lot more than when the league was a lot older, in 28 years. But back in the late 70s, came up with Bill Walton just died. The game was scheduled to be at 10:30 in the morning. The NBA finals, 10:30 in the morning. They pushed it back till noon. And then, as soon as the final whistle went, they cut away to a golf tournament. Like, that was it. Final whistle, Portland celebrated on the court, cut away quickly. Get to this random golf tournament that was going on at the time. Like, it's so these things take time, it's I'm with you. The growth, this year's been incredible, but I mean, this has been building the momentum. And you think about the pipeline of players that are going to be coming into this league over the next couple of years. Golden State and Toronto are also both going to absolutely crush it. I mean, they're going to be in the top of the sport in terms of how much revenue they generate. And so did they leave a little money on the table to get those two ownership groups in? Probably. You probably could have gotten somebody else to pay a little more. But they will be at the top, and that's going to raise the bar for the whole league. And the next ownership groups that they pay, I think you can be picky and identify one or two more ownership groups that like Toronto and Golden State, that are going to be extremely successful based on their arena situation, the ownership group, and the city itself. So I think the new teams that are coming in will help even further lift the tide of this league.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Kurt, we appreciate you and your time, and most importantly, your insight on something that, just a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. Yeah, it was great to dive in, and there's so much happening with the league right now. And we thought about waiting when there was a little more maybe clarity. We're going to have a new TV deal very soon. See a full year of attendance, see if those momentum is still carrying forward in July, August. It gets harder in the fall because you have football, and it consumes everybody's attention. To your point, you look at the TV rating Sunday and where attendance is. Las Vegas just announced sellout for every game this year, first time ever. There's a lot happening right now.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Kurt.
All right, thank you.